Okay, today we're going to take a look at S4 Area of Trapezoids. So we're going to start out with this first one here that I just pulled up. It says, what is the area? Now, for the area of a trapezoid, it's not just base times height. And the reason why is because if you look, you could see the height is 4. But then when you say, well, what's the base? It looks like there's two numbers. There's the base here, and then there's also another number up here. Well, to find the area of a trapezoid, you take the average of the base and then multiply that by the height. As a formula, it can be written like this. Area equals, again, take the average of the bases. Now to take the average of two numbers, you want to add up those two numbers and then divide by 2. So for my formula, I'm going to write that as add up the two bases, which I'll call B1 and B2, and then divide that number by 2. After you do that, you're going to multiply your answer by the height. So going through this problem now, I could say, well, what's the first base? Typically, I take the bottom number, but again, it's addition, so order doesn't matter. Base 1 is 3. Base 2 is 1. Take the average and multiply by that height, which is 4. Now that this is all just numbers, you can enter it carefully into your calculator and spit out your answer in the next step. I'm just going to show you one more step. I'm going to say, well, let me simplify the numerator and say, well, 3 plus 1 is 4 divided by 2, all multiplied by 4. And now my next step, I could say, well, 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 4, and 2 times 4 equals 8. So the area of this trapezoid would be 8 square feet. 8. Let's try another one. Once again, the formula for the area of a trapezoid is A equals base 1 plus base 2 over 2. That's taking the average of the two bases and then multiplying by the height. So for this problem, we can see that base 1 is 10 and base 2 is 6. So when I make my substitutions, 10 plus 6 goes in the numerator. And the height is the distance up and down, which is right here. It's 5. So my height is 5. Now, once I have all numbers, I could just use my calculator. But again, I'm going to show you the intermediate steps. Simplifying the numerator, 10 plus 6, I get 16 over 2 times 5. 16 divided by 2 is 8 times 5. And finally, 8 times 5 is 40. So I get 40 square millimeters. 40. Okay, I'm going to do one more of these for the area of a trapezoid where they give you the diagram and then you just substitute in the numbers. Area equals base 1 plus base 2 over 2. Take the average of the bases and multiply your answer by the height. Base 1 is 15. Base 2 is 4. And my height is 10. So I wrote the formula. Next, I'm going to substitute in. Base 1 is 15 plus 4 all over 2 times the height, which is 10. I'll show the intermediate step. The numerator is 15 plus 4. I could simplify that to 19 over 2 times 10. 19 divided by 2 is 9.5 times the height of 10. And 9.5 times 10 is 95. Okay, so again, these are the same type of problems, so I'm just going to skip a level to see if we get to some harder ones. Decimals don't really make it harder, especially because we have calculators. All right, let's try one like this. It doesn't say what is the area, it says what is the missing length. So once again, we could start out with the formula. Area equals base 1 plus base 2 over 2 times h. Now I've been putting the parentheses in the numerator to do base 1 plus base 2. They're not really necessary here. So I just dropped them here for this problem. All right, now this problem doesn't ask us to solve for the area. It tells us the area. The area is 112. So I'm going to make that substitution for A. Now notice that base 1 is what we're solving for. They use the variable u. So I'm going to substitute in for base 1, I'm going to use u. Base 2 is this top number up here. Well, that's 4. And my height is 16. Now, we're solving this equation to try to get u by itself. Well, I have 112 equals u plus 4 divided by 2 times 16. The first thing that you want to do to get u by itself is to undo the multiplying by 16. To undo multiply by 16, we divide everything on the right-hand side by 16. Using our calculator, we get 112 divided by 16, which is 7. So I get 7 equals u plus 4 over 2. Now again, this 16 canceled with this 16. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on the side here over where it says the question and the smart score. So I'm going to transfer this over here. 7 equals u plus 4 over 2. Now if I want to get u by itself, I need to get rid of this divide by 2. Well, the way to get rid of divide by 2 is to multiply both sides by 2. This 2 cancels with that 2, leaving me with the right-hand side of just u plus 4. On the left-hand side, I have 2 times 7. Well, 2 times 7 is 14. And now I'm left with a one-step equation. 14 equals u plus 4. To get u by itself, I need to get rid of the plus 4. I could subtract 4 from each side. 14 minus 4 is 10 equals u. So I found out that 10 equals the base. Again, if you wanted to check your answer, what you could do is you could write the formula over, substitute in 10 for your B1, 4 for your B2, and 16 for your H, and then solve for the area. And what should you get? Well, you should get 112 square yards. So I got 10 for my answer. Okay, let's try another one like that. Instead of solving for B1, in this case, you're solving for B2. The process is going to look very, very similar. area equals B1 plus B2 over 2. It's taking the average of the bases times the height. They told me that the area is 145. B1 is 19. They didn't tell me what B2 is, but they used the variable P, so I'm going to make that substitution. Over 2 times the height of this whole thing is 10. Now again, I want to get P by itself. So the first step to getting P by itself is to get rid of this times 10. The way to get rid of that times 10 is to divide everything by 10. 10 divided by 10 over here is going to give me 1, which is going to cancel everything out. 145 divided by 10 is going to give me 14.5. Transferring down what's left on the right-hand side, I have 19 plus P all over 2. Now once again, I'm going to run out of space, so I'm going to transfer this work up to here. 14.5 equals 19 plus P over 2. Now, if I want to get P by itself, I have to get rid of this divide by 2. The way to get rid of dividing by 2 is to multiply by 2 on both sides. That cancels out. 2 times 14.5 gives me 29. Transferring down what's left on the right-hand side, I got 19 plus P. Well, to get P by itself, I need to get rid of 19, which means I need to subtract 19 from each side. 29 minus 19 gives me 10. So I get 10 for the missing length. 10. Okay, let's try a problem like this where I don't have a picture to help me. It says a trapezoid has an area of 108 square yards. One base is 11 yards long. The other base is 7 yards long. What is the height? Okay, once again, we want to go with our formula. Area equals, area equals B1 plus B2 over 2 times H. Okay, it says a trapezoid has an area of 108, so I want to make that substitution. It tells me that one base is 11 yards and another base is 7 yards. And I'm solving for H. Well, to do this problem, I still want to simplify. In my numerator, 11 plus 7 is 18 over 2 times H. Again, I'm going to run out of space. What I'm going to do here in my next step is instead of writing 18 over 2, I'm going to simplify that piece. 18 divided by 2 is 9 times H. And then to get H by itself, to undo multiplying by 9, I need to divide both sides by 9. Again, you could use your calculator if you need to. 108 divided by 9 is 12. So I get that my height is 12. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one with you as well, just because it's another example without the diagram. So it says a trapezoid has an area of 216 square inches. One base is 17 inches long, the other base is 7 inches long. What is the height? So once again, you always want to start with that formula. Area equals B1 plus B2 over 2, taking the average of the bases, all multiplied times the height. A trapezoid has an area of 216. We could go ahead and substitute in. B1 is 17. B2 is 7. And we're solving for the height again. Well, just like in the last problem, what you want to do is you want to simplify the numerator. So 17 plus 7, you get 24 over 2 times h. Simplifying the 24 divided by 2, you get is 12 times h, or 12h. And then to get h by itself, you want to divide both sides by 12. Again, you could use your calculator. 216 divided by 12 gives you 18. Okay, so you get, what is the height? 18 inches. Okay, we've done one like this before. I'm just going to go ahead and jump a level, see if they get any harder. Okay, we get back to these type of questions. Which figure has a greater area? So again, the best way to attack these problems is to find the area of each one and then compare the two. So first, I'm going to find the area of the one on the left. So for the one on the left, I got area equals b1 plus b2 over 2 times h. Substituting in, I get b1 is 12 plus b2 is 8 all over 2 times 13. And again, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator and type it in exactly how I say it. So 12 plus 8 gives me 20. 20 divided by 2 is going to give me 10. And then I have 10 times 13, which gives me 130. So the area of the trapezoid on the left-hand side is 130 square yards. For the one on the right-hand side, again, I start with the formula b1 plus b2 over 2 times h. I'm going to go ahead and make my substitution. b1 is 18 plus b2 is 8 over 2 times the height, which is 12. Okay, now that it's all just numbers, I could go ahead and use my calculator, typing it in very carefully. 18 plus 8 gives me 26, divided by 2 gives me 13. 13 times 12 gives me 156. So which figure has a greater area? Well, it's going to be the one on the right-hand side, because 156 is greater than 130. Okay, for this assignment, you need to have a 90 or better. This question is just like the last one, so I'm not going to go ahead and do this one. But again, go ahead and do S.4 Area of Trapezoids, and you need a score of 90 or better. You could always pause the video if you need to and copy down all the notes. If you get any wrong, make sure that you're reading the feedback. All right, thank you. Have a good day.